Are we live?
We are.
Hello, how are y'all? We are live, Two Queers in a Truck special edition. We're getting pretty close to 4th of July.
Yes, today is June 24th. Can you believe that?
I mean, this
That's
month
incredible.
is just, this Pride Month is just evaporated.
It's just flying by.
It's kind of surreal because there's no Pride events, in-person events or anything like that, so it's kind of weird. It's a weird June. It's doesn't, outdoors it feels like summer, but it doesn't feel like summer because normally summer you get more of the social events and going to the lake. Or
you think it's because of the stay-at-home stuff that it's kind of thrown everyone's
I think a lot of people
out of whack, or is that...
I think a lot of people are just not showing up. We just saw that with Trump's rally in Tulsa, where they had 1 million people sign up and 6,000 actually.
Let's add that Trump rally. That's something we want to talk about today.
You talk about, and I love the responses. So I watched. We probably want to pull out, but there's several commentators, but like Trevor Noah that I watch all the time. His response was, I think two things happened with that. One, that hundreds of thousands of people pranked him, and they estimate up to 400,000 of the reservations to come to that were probably fake.
Okay, so hold on. We want to talk about that. So what you just said, remember, because I want to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
The biggest thing, though, is I think even amongst conservatives, they're starting to take COVID serious.
Yes.
Because nobody in their right mind, except for the 6,000 wackos that did show up to the Tulsa arena, are going to go to that. Because you talk about a crackpot of COVID and diseases and everything else. Just to hear him speak when you can just watch him on Twitter or TV or wherever that thing was fed to.
Yeah.
And, the funniest thing is that, and I can't remember the lady's name, but she's basically their press representative for his campaign, was trying to spin it, well, we really just wanted to gather information on those million people, and it was done for... I was like, no, it wasn't. You really wanted, and you hung your hat on the fact that 60,000 people were coming. You have an overflow arena.
Yeah, why would they build another stage?
You're gonna have an outdoor event. You're gonna have all this hoopla, and just like his inauguration, their numbers never line up with the rhetoric. Well, people don't support him as much as he thinks.
No, I think he lives in a world that doesn't exist, but it does exist in his mind. He's like illusions of grandeur. And there were short times where, just because most people were quiet, but now that people are speaking out, you're realizing how completely disconnected with reality. And a lot of the supporters, I think.
Well, I think people go, well, I can watch him on TV. I don't have to go risk myself or my family or my loved ones by getting exposed to COVID. We're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah. Let's introduce the show and say where we're going. Welcome to Two Queers in a Truck. I'm Christian Cano.
Jenny-Jaymes Gunn.
And we are driving around. We just finished our show, and I want to apologize for interrupting you during our show.
Aww.
I was panicking a little bit because we were running over, and I knew we had to come here, and I cut her off, and I should have just turned her mic off.
that would have been just as crappy. So he can't be too nice to me, because then I'd be worried. I'd be worried he knows something about me, like I'm dying and I don't know it yet. He knows it.
Yeah.
If Cano's trying to break out the brand new Cano Nice.
That's right.
It's not working.
That's right.
But he's trying. He's trying.
That's right.
He's made the pledge not to make fun of, especially women's appearances.
Yes. I'm not going to fat shame.
Get him in trouble.
Fat shame.
No more fat shaming.
Yes, that's right. And you're not going to curse.
And I've done good. I haven't said the two big ones.
You've done very well
on a show yet.
So we've got a couple things we want to talk about. We want to talk about what white Democrats are doing in our party.
Yeah.
Or I'd like to talk about it. We'll see if she jumps on board there. I want to talk about
maybe what they're not doing.
What they're not doing in our party. I want to talk about the Trump rally, as kind of what we mentioned. I want to talk about our upcoming show next week, I believe it is. It's going to be called the 3 Ps of Politics, and they are politics, politics, politics. So we want to see, kind of give a little preview of has politics changed with COVID-19, and as we move into the real political season, which is right before Labor Day weekend, and then that final stretch into elections.
Well, we're coming almost in the convention season too.
Yeah,
I mean, the convention season's in August, so it's you know, it's that time of year. And I was telling somebody this last night when we were having a business discussion. They're asking me, you know, what's my here and now look like, and for the rest of the year, and I said, you know, it kind of breaks up in segments. You know, I'm involved with Charlotte Pride. We're doing a bunch of virtual stuff. And then, you know, that'll go through, you know, August 2nd, August 3rd. And then really it shifts to politics. I mean, because you got convention season, and then you're in the home stretch till November. I mean,
and then we have my favorite holiday of the year. My favorite holiday of the year is Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
I love Halloween.
Yeah, it's going to be a little different this year, though.
It is. It's going to be different. I think we will know if it's going to be... Anyway, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's drive. We're going to what, South Park area?
Let's go South Park.
Okay.
Let's go knock on Tariq's door.
Lady T.
Lady T.
We'll go to Lady Tariq's area.
We do a pretty good band, the Two Queers and Lady T. You know, I mean, if we could get him to dress up in drag and come on the show,
I don't think that would be a problem. Yeah, that would be. He probably has that whole outfit.
He probably has several. I mean. I think he'd be a cute drag queen now. I mean, I think some men are not cute drag queens. When I see them in drag, I'm like, you probably shouldn't have experimented.
Yeah.
But I would say Lady T would be a stunner.
Yeah, I think he'd do well.
I think he would do.
I think he would place in the top
just in
3.
case he decides to get out of Republican politics. Because obviously, if he starts doing that, it's into Republicanism.
Well, I don't know. A lot of those Republicans are closeted.
No, they're hidden though.
Yeah.
If he went public, if he started doing shows, it might be a problem.
Yeah.
Even though, ironically, one of the North Carolina politicians that was a Republican that was part of the bathroom bill 20 years prior was a drag queen.
Really?
And I remember when the article came out, and it was when I was still living in Texas, and I had to research it and find that article again.
I remember.
And it didn't play for very long. The Republicans got that buried on Facebook.
I remember that situation,
But, you know, and nobody is like, well, so if you're a drag queen, if you'd been a drag performer, which they had proof, they had pictures, it was not a guessing game. I mean, they had him dead to rights, but then everybody just let it go. And it really supports the whole, if you're a conservative and you're a Republican and you're anti-LGBT hardcore, you've probably got some conflict in you. You got to have some kind of inner conflict or rage to be that angry at one group of people. Or you got to have secret fantasies. It's one or the other. It comes from an emotional imbalance anyway to hate people. But I guess we got to move on to white Democrats. I mean, like... Yeah, so... what are your thoughts on white Democrats?
Well, I mean, I think this is such a unique... This is such a unique state.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this many, many times. We talk about all the show all the time. We are going through an internal cultural war in our party, our Democratic Party, where you have the old guard not wanting to give up any power, and you've got the new guard that is taken over without them anyway. And there are these internal struggles and there are little minutia moves that are made that don't seem obvious to the ordinary layperson outside the party, but in the party there are very little there are little decisions that are made that are.
I have a little bit of a disagreement with what you said.
Okay, and you can tell by the candidates that they put up and that they support. Because those candidates are not candidates that are involved in community activism. They're not involved in diversity. They're just candidates that just pop up, and then they. It's like the old Charlotte way or the old North Carolina way of running people.
Well, I think that's politics in general, though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I don't think that was any different in Texas. So I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I think, especially when you talk about.
But the reason I'm saying that, Jenny, is because the difference is in a lot of other states, there's a little bit more diversity with the people in power. So you may have Hispanics that are in power, black people who are in power, other diversity. Here, most of those people.
But is it not?
Yeah.
But is it not performative diversity? So I think there's a big difference between a true diverse community leader like a Jorge or Luana.
Yeah.
One successfully ran and was on the city council for 8 years, like Luana, and one that lost his bid last year narrowly, like Jorge, that is a community activist, is a chief executive of a nonprofit, is right on the front lines of this. That they're the rarity in politics. So if you look at our current city council, can you say any of them are really activists? You have to say no.
Not anymore, just Braxton.
And Braxton's he's more performative, and he votes the wrong way a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, so he says the right things, votes the different way, though. I mean, he voted against the workers on the airport thing, for example. So, but circling it back to white Democrats.
No, but to be fair, he only voted against it because he was trying to get them to. He voted against it because he thought that was the wrong. He was voting by voting against it. He was actually voting for the union. The union wanted him to vote against it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So
I mean, he did vote on the right side of the issue on that one. Yeah. But circling back to white Democrats and the disconnect with the voters, I think a lot of it. I think voters do recognize there's a disconnect with the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
I think that's why you see low turnouts.
Yeah.
I think this primary, 12% of the people voted? 10%? So, even amongst Democrats, and I think especially in local elections, non-presidential elections, I think that's why there's so much voter apathy, because they're like, I don't understand my party, Republican or Democrat, but especially Democrats, when they see us electing the same people over and over again, basically, the faces might change. They might get a little blacker, they might get a little browner, but policies are not really changing.
Yes, exactly.
You know, nothing's getting better. In fact, if anything, economically, we're way worse off than we were even 20 years ago.
Because the current establishment party, which I think is about a couple of years from changing, and that's what gives me hope.
Well, the baby boomers are getting too old.
Yes, they are, and I think once they get out of the picture, or at least start going towards other things, some of them are going to hang on forever, but they'll be pushed out. That they will only support people of color or candidates of color or even gays that will agree with them.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of what they do. And you're right. I guess that is quality. I guess what I'm saying is that we know that we have a problem in our. We're going through a culture war in the North Carolina Democratic Party. We're going through a culture war.
I don't think it's a culture war. I think it's a generational war. I think the difference is that
the generation is just darker.
I think that the Generation Y and Generation Z, the two generations younger than us, that have come of age or are coming of age to vote, I think they look at things differently. Because if you think about the millennial generation, they have now, in their prime working years, have gone through two major recessions. The one going on right now because of COVID, and the other one in 2007 through 2010. Think about that for a second. So the people that were born between 1980 and 1996, the millennial generation, have faced a horribly economic deal, just kind of like the generation before the baby boomers. You know, they went through the Depression and World War II. They went through some horrific times when they came of age. And so I think the generation, what we're going to see, you know, is this very generation of very much millennials, and I think so much more with the Generation Z. I think we're going to see a very active generations. I think you're seeing it in the protests now.
Yeah.
You're seeing Generation Z be very active in social politics.
Yeah.
Like Amaya.
Uh-huh.
Like my kids.
Yeah.
Like people that are that 18 to 25 that are so young that they're going, we got to get involved.
Yeah.
We've got to save the planet. We've got to go green. They're scared to death.
Yeah.
They're not going to have a planet to go that's going to be habitable. The society that's going to be habitable. They have the most to lose. They're the youngest of the adults.
Yeah.
And so I think they've seen generation, the baby boomers and our generation do almost nothing. And they're kind of looking at us going, it's up to us to fix it.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think we're birthing the AOCs and stuff like that. But I think it's a generational thing. I think they've seen us screw it up so bad.
Well, I do think that the people that we currently have in our Democratic Party, that they have to have the courage to say, it's time for me to step down and let someone else at the table that can reflect a more diverse group of individuals.
Yeah.
So, giving and the example, because I was thinking about this last night.
Is it the Army slogan? Lead, follow, or get out of the way?
That's right. Yeah.
It's time for some people to get out of the way because they've led long enough.
Yeah, and so I think someone like Julie Eisel.
Yeah.
Julie Eisel ran on a platform of crime and police. Okay, and Julie Eisel, for anyone who has followed her, she does talk about crime and police, but only when it's relating to white people.
Yes.
She doesn't talk about crime and police when it's referring to people of color. So she's looking at it from a lens that does not represent anyone other than the small group of individuals that she is around and so forth. And so she is a city council at-large candidate, which means that she is saying to all of us, trust me, I have your best interest at heart. I think what she needs to do is step aside, let a woman of color or even a person of color run in that position, and let that person tell her, trust me, I have your interest at heart. And that's the difference. White candidates they believe that they have everyone else's interest at heart, but they don't believe anybody else can have their interest at heart. But that's the challenge I think that we have.
But I think you're giving the white establishment candidates too much credit.
Okay.
And I think, and this is I believe they know that they don't see it through another lens.
Okay.
I don't think they care to see it through another lens.
Okay.
And they appeal to the money and the power that put them in office.
Sure.
So I believe it's a little bit more heinous than that.
Okay.
I think it is.
Well, I was trying to make her sound nice.
Well, and I'm not accusing her specifically.
No,
I'm talking in general.
I
The typical white politician, Republican or Democrat.
Yeah, sure.
Because I think this is a disease.
Yeah.
Everything in politics is about money and power.
Okay.
Once you get outside of that minutia, it's not really about racism.
Yeah.
It's not really about this. It's about money and power. And the one thing that you said that was very correct is that white people aren't going to give that up without a fight. And they see it as a zero-sum game. If I lose a little bit of power here, it's that I'm not gonna have money anymore. I'm not gonna have more power. And that if black people or brown people acquire that from me, that there can't be more. Like the pie can't get bigger.
Exactly. It can only get smaller for them.
They look at it as a zero-sum deal. If this side of the equation takes away these pieces of pie, then we can't make a bigger pie.
Yeah.
And I'm going, if you create more equity across the board in any intersection of life, it makes the pie bigger. It makes it grow.
Exactly.
And so
exactly.
I think most politicians, once they get to that spot, and they've screwed over the people they've needed to screw over to get to that spot, black or white, but especially white, are really good at hanging on to power.
Yeah.
Look at a Mitch McConnell that's been in Congress forever.
Yeah.
And look at these eternal politicians that once they get in, unless they get into a job where it has term limits, like the city of San Antonio, you get one term and you're done.
Yeah.
They're one and done, which I love. I think our national Congress needs that. They need to be limited to a very short time, and then we need to get rid of them.
Exactly, yeah. We need terms there, yeah.
And I think because they have unlimited time, virtually, that also gives them unlimited power.
Yeah.
And so I think with white Democrats, and especially the baby boom generation, they recognize money and power so much more. I think the younger generations see a more utopian society. Yeah. That's what they're hoping for.
So we were at Myers Park High School. We went a little bit past South Park, but I wanted to come this way to show you.
Never been here before.
Yeah. It's a nice. It's one of the larger schools as far as enrollment. And it is Myers Park High School. All right. Well, I'm sorry. So
no, thanks for the tour. Yeah. I was like. I love the little painted rocks over there too. That's kind of cute. I mean, but I think white Democrats, especially to bring it back to North Carolina where we're at right now, I believe that one of the big struggles is, and I think there's some truth to this too, is I think they're afraid of what the black and brown people, as they acquire power, are going to do to them what white people have done to them for hundreds of years.
Yep.
And I think there's a little bit of truth to that, but I think it's really more about self-interest. I think it's about I got here, I deserve to be here.
Well, I guess
there's an entitlement.
Yes, my point is, for someone who has lived in, like as you have, and as many people in this city and state has, someone who has lived in other cities and other states and been able to look at how other groups and organizations operate, and then being able to have the luxury of coming back here, we have the luxury of having so many wonderful people who live in this city who aren't from this city.
Yeah.
And this city has thrived despite its racism and bigotry. It has thrived because people have come in from the outside and brought our thoughts, our values, our ideas, and that's why the city has continued to move forward. And I do think that what I see, and if I take myself outside of running for Congress, if I take myself outside of everything else, if I'm just looking at this from my own experiences, when I attend the African American caucus, Democratic caucus, when I attend the LGBTQ caucus events, when I attend all kinds of meetings, I see the people that are standing in the way of progress aren't necessarily Republicans, they're white Democrats.
Yeah.
And those are the ones, quite honestly, those are the ones who are standing in the way of true progress. And somehow I know that is being addressed in a micro level from precincts or forming strategies. The Progressive Party is trying to form strategies to kind of get in positions to take over the party here. But I do think that we have to know, and I know people know this inside, that for generations, and which is why it's so just dumbfounded, I don't know the word I'm trying to use, that the North Carolina has never had a person of color as a state chairperson. That is just amazing to me.
Well, I think we're still years from that, because I think as long as the baby boomers control the party,
yep,
which they do,
okay,
they still do.
Okay.
I mean, look at presidential politics.
Yep.
Who were your top finishers?
Okay.
They were all baby boomers. There wasn't a single generation X or down.
Okay.
There was a top 3 finisher.
Give me 1 second. Go ahead. Keep talking.
And I think...
Hello? Yes, yes. Yes. One of Cody is with us.
And I think in politics, and again, I think it still goes back to a generational thing. I think you have the millennial generation just navigating into national level politics. So your local levels, including your state, which I consider more local, I really truly think that you're just now seeing, like Pete ran this year, he's a millennial. You're just seeing them starting to break into the upper echelons of national consciousness at AOC.
Sure, yep.
Those people have just started breaking in the last election cycle or two, 2018 and 2020. You saw that with the Congress, how the House changed so much, the year of the woman. And I think you're starting to see a more female future. I think you're seeing a more racially diverse future. I think you're starting to see a gayer and more trans future. You saw Danica Roham win her re-election to the state Congress in Virginia. So not only was she the first trans woman to win a state level office, she was the first one to win a second term, which is unbelievable because she's in a very mixed district that's about 50-50 Republican Democrat. So I think you're starting to see faces change. I think you're starting to see, like the women's initiative here locally in North Carolina, Lillian's List, promoting female progressive candidates. So I think you're starting to see the Cynthia Wallaces and the people like that come out of those initiatives, out of that more diverse future. It takes a while though, because they've had white people, and especially this being a southern state, white people especially white men have controlled the narrative for a long dang time.
See, I just
and
think
there's still the money behind it.
I just think that belief is way overrated. Overrated insofar as people saying it takes a while. I don't think it takes a while. I think you can make change. You can make dramatic change quickly and timely if you have a movement that is,
if the environment's right.
Exactly.
And I think we are.
Yes.
I think in a worldwide pandemic.
So I always cringe when I hear people say it takes a while, because you and I know, being LGBTQ, that was told to us for many years.
Well, it did take a while, though.
Yes, but not as long as it could have taken, because there were people who said, "I'm not waiting a while. I want it now."
Well, I think you will see big changes in clusters. You saw during the second term of the Obama administration, when he didn't have to run again. He started supporting the LGBT community quite a bit. And you saw marriage equality pass. You saw a lot of things. You saw the Justice Department being very proactive. Which I think set the tone for last week's Supreme Court deal. But I also think the protests of Black Lives Matter also scared the Supreme Court. And I think that was in their minds when Justice Roberts and everybody ruled 6-3 in favor of the LGBT community. I think what you see is, as long as we keep the gas onto the fire and the foot on the pedal, change will happen. Which is why I'm so excited about the young people, because they're doing it. And that's what we have to see.
Because you and I give up after a couple of weeks.
Well, we're old. Me and you are old. We are old queers. This is two old queers.
Older.
We are not the young gays.
You're awesome.
And I think the young gays and the young of everybody, this generation, sees the problem. Sees that it's time to do it. That COVID and so many, I think COVID is really why the Black Lives Matter movement is getting pushed. Because we were talking about racial inequities in medical care during COVID. And then all of a sudden, because Breonna Taylor happened in March, and nobody talked about it until George Floyd got killed. And I think part of it is one that was a man. I think it was a man that was a very visible man. That he's well loved. That he was,
So there was a bit of sexism in that situation.
A little bit of misogyny. I mean, and Luana touched on that during the show. And I think, we have a lot of misogyny in the Democratic Party.
We have a lot of misogyny in the Democratic Party. And it's fueled by white women. They allow it to happen.
Well, because white women want to see white men in power. They don't want to see black people in power.
Say it again.
I'll say it again because I'm a white person.
Okay.
And
No, but that's true.
I can say it from my perspective.
No, that's so true.
Knowing what white people say amongst rooms that just have white people in it, even though I'm visibly queer, I'm still white.
Yeah.
And one of the things, and it'll be said different ways. It won't be said exactly the way I'm saying it, but what I'm saying is the truth. White people don't want to see black people in positions of legit power.
Exactly.
They don't mind seeing people in power. Like the mayor of Charlotte really doesn't have much power. They don't vote. They don't vote on the city council. So all they do is guide the agenda. And appoint. So it's a very ceremonial job in a lot of ways. So you really don't want to take a true progressive and put them in as mayor because a true progressive needs to be on the city council. Okay. You know, for example, and I think white people are very strategic on who they allow to the upper echelons of the party, and I think that's a disease in both parties. That the Democrats aren't as really progressive. I think there's a wing of the party that's progressive, but it's not. It's such a big tent party that there are people that I would call, they may be social progressives,
like Jeff Jackson,
but by their actionality and what they actually do in life, they're fairly conservative.
Like Jeff Jackson.
Yeah, like Jeff Jackson and Kyle Cunningham. Are two prime white male Democrats that I do believe are two good men. I don't have a beef with either one of them. I'm a big fan of Jeff Jackson in a lot of ways. I'd rather see him in that seat than a Republican, I guarantee you. Okay.
You'd rather see Jeff Jackson in the seat than a black woman?
Well, I mean, if she's a Democrat, no. I would rather have her in that spot. But right now, that's who we've got. That's who won the primary. And right now, I'd rather see a Jeff Jackson than a Republican in that seat, because a Republican's going to vote the Republican way. I don't want to ever see a Republican win of anything. That's a whole different show. We can talk about that on politics. But one of the things that I think is going to be very interesting is you have Jeff Jackson. You have the lady who's running. She's a Republican. She's an African American woman, businesswoman from Ballantyne. And of course, our Jeff Scott. So you have three people that are running. Right. Two of the people believe in a women's Planned Parenthood, who are voted for it. That's Jeff Jackson, or who will vote for it. That is Jeff Scott and the Republican woman. Jeff Jackson single-handedly blocked funding for Planned Parenthood. Yes, he did. And so that, I think, is going to be a very big dynamic. If you're a woman who believes in reproductive rights, Jeff Jackson is not the person for you. He justifies it however he wants to. He also doesn't believe we should end the war on drugs, that we should a veteran should be able to have cannabis if they need it. So that is completely kind of off of what, but the other two do. So I think it is going to be, so you have to make a decision. Do I want a pretty boy Democrat who says he's progressive but's never going to vote that way? Right. Or do I want someone else, if those two issues are important to you, do I want someone else? Well, I think it depends on which intersection of life you come from. So I'll address the Republican because, you know, realistically, you know, the Libertarian candidate probably does not have a chance in that race. But with the Republican candidate, when it comes to certain social issues, at the end of the day, would she vote to defund Planned Parenthood? Absolutely. Okay. She's going to vote party lines. Okay. And Republicans have put a gag order on. But so will Jeff Jackson. Not necessarily.
Well, he's the one who did. Yeah, but he's the one that stopped it. So I think, I guess my point is, this is going to be a very interesting conversation because
he couldn't have stopped it because we don't have the majority in the Senate.
No, there was bipartisan support. Erica Smith had reached out with Planned Parenthood about a bill. She had gotten bipartisan support, and Jeff Jackson single-handedly stopped that bill.
What, a committee or something?
Yes. Okay. And stopped it. And he said that he wasn't willing to whatever, and this, and so even the reproductive rights group, whatever the name of that group is, came out against him and said that was not acceptable. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, just because you have Jeff Jackson, who is a Democrat, whatever, does not necessarily mean that he is going to be voting for issues that are important to certain Democrats. Now, will he vote for LGBT things? Yes.
Yeah.
Will he vote for? He won't vote to protect immigrants. Will he vote to end gerrymandering? Yes. There are issues to him that are important, but they're not really issues. They're more like moderate Republican issues that he likes. He doesn't really support more progressive Democratic issues.
Well, I think he's a moderate in general. I think there's a lot of white male Democrats, like a Bill Clinton, that when he was president, he actually became more progressive after he got out of the presidency, because he signed DOMA, for example, and then actually lobbied as a former president and got it repealed.
But I guess what I'm saying is, that's an example of a white Democrat that is at that moment, is a bigger danger to us than Republicans.
No, I don't agree with that.
If a Democrat will block another Democrat, a black woman Democrat's bill.
I don't agree with that.
Okay, so you think that it's okay for a white Democratic male to block a black woman Democrat's?
You can't do that with me, Christian. I'll call you out on that shit.
Okay, well then tell me what you feel.
You can't say that one. You got me riled up now. But number one, I will never agree after what the Republican Party has done to the LGBT community.
Okay.
And this year alone, I would never see a Democrat as a greater threat to my existence than a Republican.
But will you agree, or will you accept the fact that from your lens, you will always believe that a Republican in North Carolina is a greater threat to you than a Democrat?
They have been.
Okay.
It's not even from my lens. I mean, the bathroom bill.
Okay, I understand that.
I shouldn't even have to say that.
So will you accept that there are black women who believe that white Democrats are a greater threat to them from their lens?
Well, from their lens, yes.
Yes. So that's my point is, there are many people of color, and especially black women, who see people like Jeff Jackson as a greater threat to them, because LGBT issues may not be the big issue for them. They are for you, but they're not for them.
Or for black trans women.
Well, okay, but you're not a black trans woman.
No, I'm a trans woman.
Okay,
but
but
from my lens, as I'm watching them get slaughtered.
Sure.
I'm watching them not being able to get jobs.
Sure.
See what they go through.
So you can understand that.
So there's lots of black women that get affected by Republicans.
Sure.
So.
But there's also a lot of black women that get affected by Democrats.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's my point is that depends on, of course, how you're looking at, from what lens
if you're talking about a generality, a white Republican is more of a threat than a white Democrat. In general. I mean, because you still got a Bernie, you still got progressive white Democrats. I mean, not every white Democrat that holds office is like Jeff Jackson.
Exactly. I completely agree with you. You've got great people like Mary Belk.
Where I'm arguing with you is you're making absolutes, and there's white Democrats.
I can absolutely tell you that I know several.
That's our party needs to clean house.
Yes, I can absolutely tell you that I know several African American women that are good, strong Democrats that consider white Democratic men like Jeff Jackson as one of their biggest threats.
Well, yeah, because it's an internal battle.
Okay.
I mean, if you're talking about, here's where we got to separate. I'm talking about it as a citizen.
Sure.
And in general terms.
Sure.
You're talking about it inside politics.
Yes.
Inside politics, for example, a black female candidate is always going to be blocked by a white male candidate.
Yes.
Because the power still resides in the white male segment of our party.
Yes.
They still run this party.
And because I'm an ally of black women, what I want to do is get rid of that. I want to get rid of the Jeff Jacksons. I want to get rid of the Cal Cunninghams. I want to get rid of those.
Well, you'll never get rid of them.
Well, I want to get rid of those who stand in the way, because I'm an ally of black women. I want to get rid of those who stand in the way of black women.
I think.
I want to make sure that we create as many obstacles for them as they do for black women.
I think the one thing is that you have to have with the party, you have to have leadership change, and for all intents and purposes, and this is the national level down, because I think we're the national level, the top end of our politics is what defines our marching orders down ballot, and
so someone like
no matter what way you want to say it.
Yeah, so someone like
look
me,
at the top 4 candidates.
So
for president.
Yeah, so someone like me, because I try to view things more as a strategic path, 5-10 years, so forth.
Yeah.
Someone like me is willing to defeat Jeff Jackson in this next election, put a black Republican woman in power, so that way the next election we will have more equality. The same way I was willing to defeat Dan McCready, the same way I believe Cal Cunningham needs to lose this election, is I believe that the way that you change power is not give them your support, because if that's how you have to do it. Unfortunately, you have to play the way they play.
I think that to cut your nose off to spite your face is why Democrats have had years of ineffectiveness. I think. I don't agree with that. I think that there is a different way of doing that. I don't think.
So tell us a better way of doing it.
I wouldn't ever push a Jeff Jackson out.
We would not have
had current seat holder.
Let me give you an example. We would not have had Cynthia Wallace had we not defeated Dan McCready.
Well, Dan McCready defeated himself. We didn't defeat him. He defeated himself. He was a terrible candidate.
We would not have Cynthia Wallace had we not.
He was never going to win.
I agree with that. But we would not have Cynthia Wallace unless a large portion of people helped Dan McCready lose.
But as we know, especially in congressional politics, whether it's state or national, I don't want a Republican winning a seat and holding that seat for the next 10 or 20 years.
No, we don't.
And that's what's going to happen.
No, Bishop's going to lose. I think.
Bishop's going to lose, but I'm talking about Jeff Jackson's race.
No, Jeff Jackson's race. Jeff Jackson. First of all, Jeff Jackson doesn't even participate in the community. He's never attended any of the MECDEM events.
Well, is that a prerequisite?
Well,
for office holder?
Well, considering that every single Mecklenburg delegate, elected delegate, has attended. Because I know
a lot of people in the Democratic Party don't go to anything. That's not a racial thing.
No, maybe you should just understand it. The Mecklenburg County delegation of elected officials, all of them, they all had these clusters of meetings.
Right.
All of the elected officials from Wesley to, all of them, they all met because Representative Alexander is the chair of the Mecklenburg County delegation. And Jeff Jackson is the only one out of all 19 of them, I believe, or maybe it's 16 of them, who never attended any of them. And I think that speaks highly, A, to how much respect he gives to the other delegates. B, I think it reflects how he will act if he becomes the state senator for this region, because he doesn't even attend, he doesn't hold town hall meetings in his own district. Well, it makes him think that now he's suddenly going to have those town hall meetings here in this district. So I do think that we have to hold him accountable for those things, the same way we would hold anybody else accountable for those kind of things. And I do think that those are things that have to be taken very seriously when you're electing someone for that position.
Well, I think that's an internal thing, and I think when your leader, say it's Alexander that's running that, that's the person that needs to be calling him out. So
Yeah.
why isn't the party calling him out publicly?
Oh, I think we all are behind the scenes. I've heard them call him out underneath the scenes.
Because they got to do it publicly. They got to do it publicly.
Well, I think they're trying to be polite to him.
Well, then you're not going to get any change.
Yeah,
I mean, I think publicly inside our party we have to hash out those differences and have transparency.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the problem isn't Jeff Jackson. The problem is that in politics, too many things go on behind closed doors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If we were to be more transparent, just like the T-shirt I'm wearing that represents the airing out the dirty laundry, we have to air out our dirty laundry.
Yep.
We as a party, doesn't matter what the Republicans think, we have to start airing out our dirty laundry and being more transparent.
I will agree with that.
And when we do that, the call-out generations, the millennials and the zennials.
But how do we do that?
You do it. You just do it. You know, if you're the party chairman for this district and you have 18 of the 19 people there and that 19th person minute, you have a press conference wrapping that up. And you go, oh, by the way, Senator Jackson, where were you? And make a big deal of it on social media.
Yep.
I guarantee you, unless he was on a military maneuver, because he is a guardsman or whatever he is, Army Reserve, I believe.
Yeah.
Unless he's in the Dust Bowl, you know, doing maneuvers and has an excused absence, he should not get away with that. So in that note, and it's the same way, when he blocked that, the party should call him to the carpet. When he blocked that in Congress, in the State House, you got to call him to the carpet. And that's the same way with any Democrat. You got to go, if you move counter to us, you got to have the cojones to be able to call people out and do that. And that's the problem, is the Democratic leadership, the core party leadership.
I agree with that.
Does not call people out.
I agree with that.
They just play the role of the cheerleader.
I agree.
Which is okay. In a certain respect, we do need the cheerleaders.
Well, they're very selective on who they call out.
But and that's a problem too.
Yeah.
So you got to say, well, what are our core issues? And if you go counter to that, you make a public move where you don't show up to the things you're supposed to show up to. Like, as a board member of the National Organization of Women, if I habitually skip board meetings and say I'm too busy, I'm going to get called out.
So can we agree that we need to change our leadership, our political, our party
I think we need to start with the leadership, not the politicians.
Okay.
Because I think you got the tail wagging the dog. The politicians, it's just like a sales organization.
Yeah.
You don't hold salespeople responsible for policy. You hold the sales managers and the company owners.
So will you support...
So the buck stops with the leadership.
So then, now that you are a resident of Charlotte,
yes,
will you support a new county chairperson?
Oh yeah.
Yay!
I think every leadership position and
we need new precinct chairs. We need.
I think you need. I think you need a top to bottom leadership change, which I do think is coming.
Yeah.
Being around the young Democrats and going to their meetings and going to their Zoom calls, I think you see a core. Because you're starting to see him run for office. You just saw Jonathan Peoples run for office for the first time, and I think he did great.
I thought he did great.
I think he's going to be a great candidate. I think I'm hoping he runs again.
Yeah.
I hope that didn't sour him. And I want to see young leaders, diverse leaders, and I want to see white progressives step up. So I think one of the problems is a lot of white progressives won't run for office. I think that are strong allies. I think the issue is that we promote too many white moderates in the Democratic Party. Is that somehow we've got some kind of training pool, like if you're a white progressive, you go do activist causes and come back to us when you become a white moderate.
Well, because there's this thinking that
there's
this thinking that this is only something you can do. and this is something that you can do.
Right.
And it's elitist. It's very.
Well, it comes from the leadership.
Exactly, and I do think that really highlights the immaturity of the North Carolina Democratic Party.
I don't think it's an immaturity. I think it's systemic. I think it.
Yeah.
I don't think it has anything to do with maturity. I think it has to do with the system is designed that way to do that. I think it's a multi-generational problem.
Oh, I don't think I can get through here.
I don't even think it's 100%. I don't even think it's 100% even racially based.
Yeah.
I believe that they've done this stuff for so long that they don't see it as wrong. I think that they go, we just got to win, and winning is important. I want to see Democrat in every race. I always want to see a D by the name that wins. I don't. I'm a homer in that way. I'm always going to root for my team. I cannot root for a Republican. And at the same time,
see, I can.
I can.
I can root for. I'm going to root for Matthew Ridenhour.
I mean, no, I can't. I mean, I love him.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. But I would never vote for him.
I mean, I think that he has been involved in the community. He knows the issues that impact.
But he was in favor of SB2, SB6 or whatever it was here. I mean, he was in favor of the bathroom bill, and I can't support a party that has targeted me. You shouldn't either. But we had 44 to start this, and I'm going to repeat this until every LGBT Democrat hears this. If you ain't supporting Democrats, you're part of the problem. And I'm going to call you out on that, especially in Pride Month. We had 44 anti-LGBT bills proposed nationwide between January 1 and February 10th of this year. In less than 40 days working, we had 44 anti-LGBT bills posed, all by Republicans. And that's a problem. And we're still...
And there were Republicans that helped stop those.
Yeah, but they created them. That's the problem, is the party still fosters that.
So how is that... I guess... I understand what you're saying. I guess I don't. It seems like you're cherry picking which people you like and which people you don't like. So you
are too.
Well, no, of course, no. I would not disagree with that, but at least you have to admit it. I mean, Jeff Jackson, who is anti-woman, anti-Planned Parenthood, anti-reproductive rights, anti-drug war on drugs. All of these things that we know impact a large portion of our community, including LGBTQ people, and they are allies of ours. Jeff Jackson, who was against those, you're willing to go, it's okay.
Because I want to end the Republican majority in the state house.
So for you, it's more important to end the Republican majority than to put a bad Democrat in there.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Well,
you pick your poison.
Yeah.
You pick your poison.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, with a Democratic majority, a lot of that stuff ends.
No, because this is what's going to happen. This is what my fear is going to happen, and I think we've seen this on the Republican side. When you put someone who is so out of line with our Democratic platform, like Jeff Jackson is, when you get someone, and we do get the majority, he becomes a thorn in the side of the party. He becomes a Rand Paul. He becomes someone who pushes you to a more extreme because you want him to vote with the party. And just like we had with Claire Fallon when she was on our city council, she ran as a Democrat. She was the most Republican person on there, voted against LGBT rights, voted against everything. And everyone was like, God, we got to get her out of there. Well, we shouldn't have put her in there in the first place. We knew that was going to happen with her.
But here's the thing. In the states where Democrats have the Congress and the governorship, they're not seeing these type of problems. This is only in states like this state where we have either partial or all Republican control. So this is a split state. We have the state house that's controlled by Republicans. we have a Democrat governor. So we're still seeing the tomfoolery and the fuckery. And then in states like Texas, where the Republicans control everything on the state level, and they're running roughshod over everybody.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think you need a Democratic Congress, and you get, when you buy the dog, you get the fleas. Now, is Jeff Jackson the prototype of what I want? Nope. But I don't want to give up the shot of taking over the Congress to vote him out to prove a point.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a leadership problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're taking an isolated situation and trying to make it the norm. It's not the norm.
And to be fair, it's not just Jeff Jackson. Jeff Jackson just happens to be the person running in my district. You have a person like Dan Blue, who is in leadership in the North Carolina Democratic Party, who represents Robeson County. He's almost worse than Jeff Jackson. He's an African-American guy. He's been in there for probably 15 years. He is very, very moderate, always votes against the best interest of LGBT, votes against the best interest of women's issues, but yet they keep putting them in there because they figure, well, we'd rather have a Democrat than a Republican. Well, you're never going to get a Republican in that district, but at least get a more progressive Democrat. Well, and so I think he is just as much a danger to our party.
But I think that's the problem with our leadership is that we are not holding.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the party leadership. The party leadership, the inner workings, the power brokers to to decide political campaign funding and so many other things that you know about.
Yeah.
Those people at the very top. The politicians are just the sales reps.
Well, speaking of that, because we're running out of time and we're going to have to eat at the house something because that Mickey D's was too busy.
Yeah, you're fine.
Cynthia Wallace.
Yeah.
Cynthia Wallace is a perfect example. When she announced she was running, she got no support from the power, who the people we're talking about.
Yeah, power brokers.
She got no support from them. And she held the chairmanship of the North Carolina 9th Congressional District Democratic Caucus, whatever you call it. She got no support for them. She had to kind of scrape up her own money with her sorority sisters and some friends and family members and people who have been following her. And she's gotten this far and so forth. Well, now they see that this seat, because of the coronavirus, because of the stupid things that Dan Bishop has done, he's made a lot of stupid errors. Now they see she has a chance. Now they're starting to come to her and start to say, well, we don't want to be left out, so let's make sure that we put our foot in the door just in case and so forth. Yeah. This is going to be a very interesting race. I support her. We all support her. I don't think
she's legit. She's legit. Yeah. If you've ever had a personal conversation with her, not to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
I had a lengthy conversation with her at the Women's March back in January. She was brilliant.
She was.
And I think more often than not, she's going to make. She may not be on the right side of everything that you and I believe in.
Yep.
But I will say, she's reasonable.
Exactly.
She's super intelligent.
Yes.
And I think she's somebody that will represent the district in a way that should be accessible.
Yes.
She's very human, very relatable.
Yes.
I felt like I was talking to a family member.
Exactly.
Or the more reasonable side of my family, not my crazy side.
Yeah.
and you automatically felt this trust with her. That there's no way. Republicans don't even trust Dan Bishop.
Exactly.
I mean, he's a creep. And I don't care if he sues me. Screw him. I think he's an absolute creep.
He can't sue you for calling you, for you saying your opinion.
He's a thug.
Well, he can sue anybody. He'll sue anybody. But still.
He's a thug.
Wouldn't we love to be able to stand on the stand and have him defend? Are you not a creep?
Yeah.
Are you not a creeper?
Yeah, I mean, the thuggery that he did against trans people,
that's just,
I will never let
outrageous.
that go.
Yeah.
He killed trans people because of that. People got hurt because it dehumanizes us, and I'll never let that go. So it's but to circle it back to Cynthia, I don't just support her just because she's black and a woman.
Yeah,
I support her because she's a good human being.
Yeah,
She's reasonable. She's a common sense Democrat.
Yeah.
She knows that district. She's active in that district.
Yep.
She is a native of that area, so she lives and breathes that part of North Carolina.
And quite honestly, a lot of the rural farmers in rural...
And she's not running just to run.
Yeah.
She really wants to represent that district.
Yeah.
Which is what really came across when I talked to her face to face.
Yep.
She loves that district, and she loves everybody in that district. And that's who you want in Congress.
Yep.
You want somebody, when they go to Washington, D.C., to really represent us and not just fill a seat.
Yep.
Dan Bishop, more than anything, is an empty-headed suit that does not belong in that district and should not be representing District 1.
Dan Bishop is a buffoon. He is a racist.
He had Republican Party.
He's a bigot. He's an idiot.
He single-handedly lost him the governorship by pulling what he pulled in 2016.
He was ridiculous.
And the guy's a poison pill.
Well, we talked about a lot of great things.
Yes.
And we are at the end of the road, and we did not get something to eat because they were too busy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to adjust my mask. So, thank you for joining us. We will see you one more time, I think, next Wednesday. Are we on for next Wednesday?
Yeah.
Oh,
cool.
Yeah. And so we will see you on the next edition of Two Queers.
Well, this is the last Pride Month show.
Yes, that's right. This is the last Pride. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Oh, happy Pride, y'all.
Yeah, because next Wednesday will be July 1st.
That's right. So July 1st. That's right.
We'll be out of June.
Yeah.
We'll survive June of 2020.
That's right.
It's so weird how emphasis we're putting everything on every month this year.
God, April,
because every month it feels like a year. It's like a dog year.
Fast. 2020 is definitely going to be the year that we're all going to look back and go, can you believe
we survived it? We're all going to have T-shirts.
It's worse than 9/11.
Oh yeah. Oh, 9/11 was a fart in a skillet.
Yeah, this was a lot worse.
Oh yeah, this was worse than 2007 and 2008 when the recession.
So we do want to thank our passenger, who was such a good passenger today.
That's Tara.
Come here, baby boy. This is Cody.
No, he's not wanting to come.
Oh, he doesn't want to come in here. He
now you don't want to come.
He sat very quietly in the back, so we want to thank Cody for being our passenger today.
And technically, he's our first guest.
Yes, he was our first guest. Thank you. He was such a great guest. Yay!
So
all right,
he's our first person.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.